Hello everyone. We finished our modules and our meetings on loving kindness and compassion, and this is a follow-up. I want to contextualize this for all of my friends and community who are not in the MMTCP course curriculum with me and with all of us attending, just to let you know that I am offering some reflections to a group of students who are studying to be facilitators of mindfulness, and the reflections come in response to questions and concerns that they've had about how to practice and how to teach or how to facilitate loving kindness meditation. So one of the things that is fairly common amongst all of you is that there's sometimes a challenge with the phrases, how to feel lit up or connected or to invoke the experience of loving kindness as a direct, perceptual, embodied experience. And traditionally, especially now, it is taught where phrases are used and repeated as a way of bringing forward the qualities of loving kindness and sharing them with others. But I want to take us back to the original context, which was that the Buddha's discourses on loving kindness and the Buddha's sharing of boundless qualities are the two most noteworthy descriptions of loving kindness that I'm familiar with in the Pali texts. And rather than talk about them, I'm going to do what is familiar with these chants, which is to just chant them and then speak about afterwards some of what is present as well as some of what's absent. So settle in and enjoy two chants with me. Now let us chant the Buddha's words on loving kindness. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease, whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child. So with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. Now let us make the four boundless qualities shine forth. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with loving kindness. Likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with loving kindness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with compassion, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with compassion, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with gladness, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with gladness, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. I will abide, pervading one quarter, with a mind imbued with equanimity, likewise the second, likewise the third, likewise the fourth, so above and below, around and everywhere, and to all as to myself. I will abide, pervading the all-encompassing world, with a mind imbued with equanimity, abundant, exalted, immeasurable, without hostility and without ill will. So take a moment and just let the impact of those chants wash over you. Notice what you notice. Notice what's present. Notice if your heart is open or if your heart is contracted. Notice if you can feel and sense your body and how your body feels. Now, coming back to reflecting on these chants, I want to point out that there isn't any encouragement in these chants to take phrases and to repeat them. There's a connecting with a global sense of loving kindness. And in the first chant, understanding how that global sense of loving kindness would be part of one's behavior, one's actions, one's relationships, one's way of being. and understanding that that global quality of loving kindness is without anger, without hostility, without ill will. And it's for everyone. In the second chant, the boundless qualities, the Brahma Viharas, the qualities of loving kindness and compassion and joy and equanimity, they all are together. Loving kindness is not extracted out. We start with one, move to the other, the third, and the fourth. And they come as a unit, practicing the qualities, the boundless qualities of the heart together. And in our contemporary world, in our modern Vipassana insight world, it's often the case that we have retreats on loving kindness where one of the four of these Brahmaviharas is taken and expounded upon and practiced. And there's values of that, in doing that. But when we extract one out of a unit, there's also weaknesses and shortcomings of that. And so we don't need to have judgment, we just need to understand that when we do this, there's this impact. So I want to come back to the phrases. The phrases is what's often taught nowadays as the way in which loving kindness is practiced and the way in which loving kindness needs to be taught. And to point out that in both of these suttas, the Buddha did not use loving kindness phrases. So I want to use that as a point of encouragement, that if loving kindness phrases is not something that connects for you, it's not something that easily ignites your sense of a global feeling of loving kindness, then to use something that does. A touchstone with an image of a person that evokes that for you. A quality of being in nature, or contact with a beloved animal, or the holding of your ancestors, loved ones, teachers, benefactors. And when you first ignite that feeling, to feel it in yourself as deeply, as fully as you can, before you try and share it with others. Now, I also want to mention that in our contemporary world, the number of people who are dealing with trauma is increasing. And after doing my one-on-one interviews with each of you to get to know more about your personal story, about 30% of my students in this particular cohort are actively dealing with trauma. And subsect of them are dealing with complex PTSD. And so with my own experience in dealing with trauma, there's some nuances that are helpful to understand. I'm not a therapist. I'm a human who's been through my own experiences in life. So I don't offer this as a replacement for skilled intervention, either for yourself or for you to work with your students, but just as context setting. The way I look at it is meditation is like a bell curve. And these instructions of loving kindness are for people who are in the middle of the bell curve. The front end of the bell curve are those of us who are dealing with trauma or complex PTSD. And our nervous system regulation set point is different than when we're in the middle of the bell curve. On the other end of the bell curve is when we have actualized what these meditations point to. And there's a boundless sense of freedom or spaciousness or dimension, and we have easy access to that. So these instructions are for people who are predominantly in the middle of the bell curve. when more and more people are in the front end of the bell curve, then it's helpful to remember and to make accommodations for that. One of the things that's really helpful to remember when anyone is dealing with trauma is that the way the nervous system regulates around freeze, around flight, around fight, is that that's an automatic nervous system regulation in the presence of extreme danger. That's a normal and healthy response. So when we are in a freeze mode, we're numb, we can't feel anything, or when we're in a flight mode, we want to run, we want to disappear, we want to get away from something, that it's actually a movement of health to feel angry and to want to fight, to say no, to have clear boundaries, to establish the sense, no, you cannot hurt me, I will not let you do that. So what we need to understand is that when we are in the middle of a trauma resolution process and we have an experience of anger arising, that needs to be honored and celebrated and found a clear way of giving voice and expression to in a way that doesn't harm yourself, harm anyone else, or hurt property. That it isn't in antithetical relationship with the loving kindness practice, it is an expression of loving kindness practice. So if you feel that loving kindness, doing loving kindness may be harmful, then the inquiry question is it harmful because the loving kindness practice is being used to supersede the trauma response, which is asking to honor this need to protect, to have clear boundaries, to assert oneself, and to say no with a lot of force, which is often what happens when we get angry in response to trauma. If the sense of doing loving kindness practice might be harmful, then the invitation is to check and see what needs to be honored. And can you use loving kindness to meet what needs to be honored, rather than to superimpose an idea about how you should be and how you should feel and who you should have those feelings towards. So when we are practicing in a way that is connected, we're meeting what is arising rather than superimposing an idea on top of what is arising based on how we think we should be. So when you are with yourself, when you're with your students and anger arises, please be careful around the judgment that it shouldn't be there. And check and see if in fact it is a healthy response to what is arising, and respond with care and respect rather than disallowing that feeling, even when you're doing loving kindness meditation. So our world right now has lots of opportunities for us to be experiencing trauma because of the multiple and complicated compounding factors that so many of us have been navigating. As our nervous systems regulate, then the movement into expressing anger is part of the movement of health. This is not the same as using our anger to hurt or to harm or to belittle or to shame or to punish anyone. It's the nervous system regulation moving out of a trauma response back into the middle of the bell curve. Once we are in the middle of the bell curve, then we can work with anger to understand it, to release it, and to reduce it. But until we are in the middle of the bell curve, we need to be careful not to superimpose the ideas about how we should be onto what's actually happening, so that we actually cause more challenge rather than more support. That's it for now. I'd be interested to know your impact hearing this. Please let me know. For those of you who are listening to this on social media, there'll be more of these available on YouTube, on social media. You can subscribe to the Awakening Truth newsletter. Go to awakeningtruth.org and let us know you want to be hearing more of this. Thanks. Bye for now.